Dave Zibolski. Good to have you back in studio, sir.
Thanks, Joel. Great to be here.
There's a number of questions, but earlier in the show, people are coming to me and wanting to know how to help you and the families. And so we mentioned that we want to tag it with something, and I'm sure others are going to want to do the same thing, that the Fargo PD wants it tagged with. Have you made your mind up on that yet?
Yeah, and, just to start with, we really appreciate the outpouring of public support has just been tremendous. It means so much to our personnel to see that, the community's behind them in these, really trying times. And we're working through it as a family and a team, and we really appreciate that. And so to further that effort and appreciate your support on this as well, I think that's really outstanding of your team here to do this. We've talked about slogan and messaging, and we've come up with We Are Fargo PD. And I believe this logo will be on our website shortly if it's not already. And here's how we see this. We're looking for, we've always said that public safety is a team sport. We have our police and we have our public, and we have to work in concert and collaborate and work together to keep Fargo safe. And we have that level of cooperation. We're always looking at expanding it and making it stronger. And so, for a member of the public to be wearing a wristband that says we are PD, Fargo PD rather, they are Fargo PD. They are the public part of Fargo PD. And so we see that as a complete part of our team. And that also opens up the door internally for us. We're going to be putting together a memorial committee to work on other messaging and things like this. And, on the internal side, they might do a little bit of personalization on the PD side for our officers to wear, but using that same slogan of We Are Fargo PD. So we think that's a really great way to give the community a way to show support and for us to, again, just grow closer together as part of that overall team.
And there's a lot of statements being made. I want to remind the public right now that they're going to be able to go and see this interview online. It'll be podcast there, but you'll see it. Sheriff Jesse Johnner yesterday, Chief of Police Zibolski, they wear that black band around their badge, and explain to people the tradition of that, if you would.
Sure. The black mourning band is worn when you have lost a member in the line of duty, maybe from your own department or someone in your region. And so it just memorializes and honors that fallen officer, and it's normally worn until that officer is laid to rest, from the time of the incident until they're laid to rest.
Is there any information in regards to how things are going to happen when officer is laid to rest? Is there anything that people are going to be very interested in being part of all that?
Absolutely. And so we have put together a plan, and it's been a little more involved maybe than the single plan we would normally have, but our folks have worked very hard at this, and we will be finalizing that today and pushing out some final information to our law enforcement partners and our community. Likely late today or early tomorrow morning. So as we finalize that, I just kind of let people know that we will message that out in a number of different ways. I'm going to be doing some interviews later today. We're also going to be putting together a direct message video cast from myself to the community, talking about basically where we're at. And by that time, I believe we'll have some details to provide them on those opportunities to pay respects.
Okay, just a reminder, folks, it's part of what the community has, and as the chief just said, you are part of the Fargo PD by wearing this. It's a perfect example, these blue wristbands, and now I know exactly what's going to be on them. # We Are Fargo PD. And so what better way to get people that might not have heard to recognize what's going on and then realize exactly the situation that the Fargo Police Force is under. Chief, there's a lot of questions coming my way. I told people ahead of time, some of these questions you might be able to address, some you can't, but let's give it a try, okay? Are there any mentions of a connection with Fargo's recent courthouse activities, drug relation, perhaps?
Not that we're aware of at all, and I guess really that's a great question. Let me just take the opportunity to remind the public also that if we had any information whatsoever about any additional threats or any additional crimes that would occur as a result of this incident, we would absolutely make our public aware. We have no such information. There are no known threats at all in our region, our community here, and we're continuing to monitor that. And again, as the BCI and the FBI continue their investigation, we anxiously await, just like the public, the results of that and what else needs to be done, and if there are any other additional pieces. But we will certainly let folks know if there was any threats to the safety here in our community. There are none. We are safe, and we have all of our boots back on the ground as of today, and we really want to thank Cass County and West Fargo for covering those calls during the last few days.
Okay, someone wants to know what type of gun was used.
I can't disclose that. That's part of the investigation.
I know that some reporting is out there of it. I don't know whether it's right or wrong, but we're going to take it when you give it. Other questions, was it said if the shooter was in the parking lot before the accident, or did he show up after the crash? In other words, the ambush question keeps coming up.
Yeah, again, I don't have that answer, and we're hoping from the investigation that we'll know that answer.
Okay. So how long do you think, and I mentioned earlier, as you stated yesterday, that the investigation is being coordinated by you and the Fargo Police Force, that FBI and BCI and everything are working through you. True or not?
No, and that's no. I don't think that's what I said. We have a liaison with them just so that we get a little information about what's going on, so that, as I said earlier, if suddenly a threat became known during the course of the investigation, they would let our liaison person know so we could let our public know. The investigation is totally under the control of BCI and the FBI. And so the liaison piece is not, we're not coordinating or telling them what to do in any fashion. They are running the investigation. They are keeping us apprised of relevant facts, especially things related to any additional community safety, and there currently are none.
Okay, let me take a better shot at this of what I should have said, okay? That information is being disseminated by your department, that if BCI, FBI, anyone has any information, it's going to go through Fargo PD. True or not?
In terms of threats and info, yes. Now, I think ultimately when the investigation is done, they will release it publicly, and I'm certain that we will be in collaboration with them. But it's mostly going to be their message of here's the results of the investigation, and whatever involvement we have following that, or just as part of that message, we would be there with them.
Okay, so in terms of people being able to mourn, take part, do those type of things, is it something that we're going to be able to share as a community with what the Fargo PD is going through?
Absolutely, yeah. And my direct message later today, hope to get that out later today, early tomorrow morning at the latest. We'll provide that information, and we absolutely have, job number one is taking care of the families of all of these officers and honoring their wishes, and doing how they want to pay final respects, but also providing an opportunity for our community, our region, and our department here to pay their respects as well. So I think as you see the plan, once we're able to lay that out very soon, that everyone here will have that opportunity.
And there's all types of suggestions about what you should do. I'm not going to put those. I'm not going to throw this at you, because
Appreciate it.
There's going to be a time when the community itself can come in and do all of that.
Absolutely.
Questions about the rest, I think, are something that the only thing that individual asks a question here, which you might want to answer, is the car has not been addressed. Was the bomb squad called in?
Was the bomb squad called in on the car?
Yeah, I think what they're talking about is the car could have been set up to blow up.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, that the FBI did utilize a lot of different services, and I think that EOD was one of the components that they were looking at in an instant like this. Again, not unusual. So again, the findings and what they found and all of that has to really come from them, and it's part of their investigation.
I know in speaking to Sheriff Jesse Johnner, after we had the opportunity to speak, he wanted people to know that the Sheriff's Department will help aid in any way possible the city of Fargo. Mm-hmm. The men and women that work with you, I know you have to manage things in a different way when one of their own has fallen. Is Fargo protected right now?
Oh, absolutely. And as I said, as of today, our folks have been through a lot of trauma. We've had a lot of outreach with them, a lot of face-to-face. We're trying to take care of them as best as we can. and we are transitioning to full boots on the ground with our department personnel, and keeping now Cass and West Fargo more as a safety net in the event. We have a shortage, but so far we've been doing fine, and our folks are doing as well as can be expected. Really proud of their resiliency and their commitment to coming back and serving Fargo. But we still are working through this, and I think until the final funeral and those events are over, it's still going to be a struggle, but the closure is coming, and then it's just really watching people after that and managing those emotional reactions and things that they might be working through.
Chief, when you look at what's happening here in terms of an overall guide, an overall picture, I'm sure you have gotten a lot of calls in the community. And when I think of vulnerable, I think of kids and I think of elderly.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you could give advice to the community about those vulnerable people in this community, what would it be?
I think in terms of this incident, I think you want to watch out for potential fraud and scam in terms of giving, right? We've got there's some GoFundMe funds that have been set up for the officers. We also have what's called the leadershipcarefund.com, which is not a department funding mechanism, but was put together by 3 of our sergeants initially for the purpose of supporting our personnel internally. They're a 501c3 registered with the state. And now that this event has happened, they have actually taken that opportunity to take in donations for our troops, for our cops that are injured, and Jake Willing's family, etc. And they're a separate entity. They make the funding decisions, or they work off of the requests of the donors, and so it's something we support. It's legitimate. But we also don't want to be in the way of any other family's GoFundMe. So again, there's options out there, but for our vulnerable people, these are times when there's a lot of different scam giving donations that you'll see, and they'll try and take advantage of a horrific event and convince people that they should send the money, and a lot of it's fraudulent. So if there's a question, we know for sure the leadercarefund.com is legitimate. The family GoFundMes, if they're with the family, I guess that's a decision that you have to determine. Sometimes people get on Facebook in the name of the family, but they're not the family, and there's really no good way to vet that.
Yeah, they lie. Some individuals lie, so check it out. 2 quick questions, Abby. I know we've taken longer time than you had to give. Your staff made that clear, and they've been wonderful to work with. How many people in the car accident?
I don't even know, Joel.
Okay. Another one. Is the FBI involved out of concern that this is a lone wolf terror attack against law enforcement?
Well, the FBI jumped in right away and to assist us in any fashion. And I think, as I said earlier at the press conference, based on gunfire, the officers being killed, and the nature of it, it's not unusual for the FBI to jump in. Now, what they found after they jumped in, I'm not aware of the full details, and so I really can't answer that question right now.
Here's our pledge to you, and I'm sure others are going to do this, but I can only speak for our family right here. What we're going to raise, because we're not going to charge anything, but you watch, people will give more than whatever we would have charged with these bands with your hashtag on, which, by the way, is We Are Fargo PD. All will go to you. How you manage it, that's your business. It all will go to you. If you want to share with the citizen victim of all this, obviously, I think people would be very happy about that. We're not going to distribute or manage those funds. We will pass it through to you. Okay, Chief?
Much appreciated, Joel. Really appreciate the community support and you guys stepping up and doing this.
Okay. Chief, thank you. Tell the staff not to get mad that I took more time.